Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. This time we're looking at an item that is basically one of my Star Wars collecting holy grails when it comes to home video. It's got some oddities to it we're going to need to discuss and an interesting backstory to how it came into my hands. So, fair warning, there's going to be some explanation ahead of time for this. Again, this is not an unboxing series, this is not a review series. This is a series designed around sort of discussing the narrative of the history of Star Wars on home video in different regions, particularly in the United States, and the evolution of my personal collection, which includes the narrative here. Feel free to skip forward if you just want to see the product. I wouldn't post the "for the real discussion, go to this timestamp" kind of thing in the comments, because that's a very easy way to get yourself hidden from the channel, because I find that really disrespectful and dickish. Speaking of things that are new to the channel, though, I will say this is the first video that'll be having a little thing down here where it'll mention the Patreon or mention, subscribing to the channel, that sort of thing. I've been convinced to finally include that in these videos, even though I'm not going to say it every time. That keeps me from getting into the tropes of many of the videos that are like, smash that like button and all that kind of stuff, or Return of the Jedi is what we're going to be talking about, or any of that kind of stuff. There are hosts out there who do that kind of thing that I particularly enjoy their stuff. It's just not really in keeping with my personality, but I've been told I really ought to mention that stuff in the videos, so you'll just see it at the bottom, like after I finish, most of the time, after I finish the spiel about, who I am and introduce myself, it'll just be down at the bottom. Okay, so, the video we're talking about this time is something that goes back to basically a big hunt last year, and the DHL nightmare, you may recall if you're an ongoing viewer of this channel. So, one of the things I really wanted to show in a Saga on home video was something I thought I'd never be able to actually get my hands on, which is a Star Wars release on a format called Video8. It's 8mm video. It's one of these video formats that was big in some other regions, but just not over in the US. In the US, some movie companies actually produced movies on it, like Paramount did, but for the most part, not as much in the US as in other regions. Certainly no Star Wars releases over here to retail. For the US, it was more used for camcorder cassettes, for recording your own stuff, not for watching pre-recorded content. But Video8 did have some Star Wars releases in other regions, and the one that I mostly knew about, that I knew existed because I had seen pictures of it before, and because of a video online, which will play a role in a moment, was a release of Return of the Jedi, at the very least, if not the whole trilogy, but at least Return of the Jedi, on Video8 in the UK. And I'd been searching for it for ages. And how did I know that it existed? Because there was a video that seems to be the most frequently watched and shared video, at least among the Star Wars home video community, about Video8 that exists on YouTube. It's a video by Techmoan, T-E-C-H-M-O-A-N, hosted by a guy named Matt, M-A-T. And in talking about the Video8 format, one of the example products that he shows in there is a Video8 copy of Return of the Jedi from the UK. So we knew it existed. Turns out, apparently, all three original trilogy films do exist from the exact same year, 1988, and the exact same product line, the all-time greats product line, or whatever they called it. We'll see it here in just a moment. So, in trying to hunt these down, I felt like it was almost going to be a lost cause. But in my frustration to try to find a copy and never running into them on eBay myself, in June or so of last year, in June of 2020, I actually emailed Matt from Techmoan saying, hey, I'm writing this book. I'd really like to showcase this item. I haven't been able to find it anywhere. If you'd be willing to sell yours, here's an offer. Let me know if you're interested. Thank you very much for your time, that kind of thing. And it turns out I didn't realize it at the time until after the fact, but some other people in the community had emailed him asking on my behalf about the same thing. But I never got a response initially. And that didn't surprise me, because let's face it, who the hell am I? Number one. Two, those types of emails come from time to time, and you're just like, whatever, whatever. That doesn't really need a response. You'd be amazed the amount of emails that I get that are just like random BS or random, hey, I'd like this thing from your collection, sell it to me, kind of emails. And typically, I've gotten to the point where I get enough of them, and I get so much junk mail I got to filter through every day anyway, because it's a public email address, that I'm just like, you know what? Most of the time, I just don't respond. I don't want to be rude, but at the same time, I don't want to be like, are you crazy? Are you nuts? no, and get into that whole exchange. So I finally just say, you know what, I just won't respond to it. So I figured maybe that was the kind of thing, or maybe he just gets so many emails he wouldn't have seen it, or, just I was not surprised or offended necessarily by the idea of not getting a response. So then August comes around, and that's when Jeremy Goss lucked into seeing a full set of the Japanese Best Library Video 8 releases of the original trilogy on eBay all at the same time, which is when I then arranged to pick them up, and we had the whole DHL nightmare until they finally got in my hands, and I was finally able to show that here on the show, along with a Pizza Hut training video for Star Wars stuff on Video 8 that I was able to show around the same time. This is all back in August of 2020. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm good. I can't show one from the UK, but I can show the format. I can show the trilogy from Japan, which is maybe even better than being able to show just one film from the UK. I'm going to be able to cover the format in the book. And I had sort of written off the idea of getting my hands on a UK copy of any of these. I don't think I've ever seen A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back on Video 8 from the UK, though I believe and I'm told that they exist. The only other place I've ever seen a copy of Return of the Jedi on Video 8 from the UK is in the collection of Chris Clark, who is a friend of the show and a fellow collector who also posts over there on the page. You may have heard of him before on here as Chris Jen, because that was what he used to go by on the Facebook moniker and everything. So knowing that there's only two of these I had ever known for sure to exist and where they were, and never seeing them pop up on eBay or anything, I just sort of wrote it off. And then, just a matter of weeks ago, I got an email from Matt from Techmoan. He had gotten my email, he'd seen it, he'd read it, but he wasn't sure at the time where he'd actually stored that cassette. And in the process of sorting through stuff, he ran across it and remembered my email. He dug out the email, responded, and sure enough, we set up a sale of that Video 8 Return of the Jedi copy as seen on the Techmoan video. So not just a similar copy, literally the same copy, although he had taken the time after the fact, before putting it in storage, to peel off some of the UK rating stickers that marred the cover art a little bit. This was produced in the era in which you had regular ratings already on packaging, like we saw with the VHS, but sometimes there'd be stickers of even bigger rating boxes covering those up to make it even more prominent, which on something as small as a Video 8 cassette meant a lot of the packaging real estate taken up by those stickers. So he had peeled them off, still a little bit of residue from them, but he peeled them all off. And sure enough, it has finally arrived without anywhere near the kind of drama that we had from the releases out of Japan that I wound up acquiring last year. So that's what we want to take a look at here. It is the Return of the Jedi Video 8 release from 1988 in the UK that I never thought I'd get my hands on, thanks to Matt from Techmoan, which is also the exact copy seen in his video. Now that said, there's a little bit of an oddity to its packaging, which we're also going to take a look at here, and sort of the mystery involved in it and what I've been able to surmise thus far. That item, after all this intro, kind of a big deal, is this. Return of the Jedi. You got your standard artwork there. You've got, like I said, the artwork with Return of the Jedi, the U rating, cast crew information, CBS Fox, and all-time greats down there at the bottom. Kind of tough to see because of it being a little dark. The spine, CBS all-time greats, images that, like with the cover, Return of the Jedi, Hi-Fi Stereo, and 8 as Video 8. There you go. The back, images, but it's very much like what we saw with this era of 1988 with the VHS release of Return of the Jedi, because it's essentially the VHS packaging shrunk down, where it's got an image from Jedi and an image from Empire and an image from Empire and an image from A New Hope, which makes no freaking sense whatsoever. Then you got your info about the film, your barcode, copy protection, CBS, Fox Video, the rating, and legalese and everything down underneath. Notice, see where all that stickiness is, that sort of residue there? That's where the even larger thing was. And there's a spot down here where there was some more. Basically, that's why it looks a little different, because those stickers are peeled off from that original Techmoan video. As for the cassette itself, just where it was made and that kind of stuff on that end. And then here's your cassette here. CBS Fox Video with Return of the Jedi in the rating, product number, then underneath you have the copyright, including the date, right, 1988, with more legalese down at the bottom. Okay. This is one of the trilogy. The trilogy was released, apparently, in the UK in '88 in an all-time greats packaging line that essentially resembled the all-time greats VHS stuff that we already saw in recent videos. But it does exist on Video 8 from the UK, and after years of never thinking I would ever be able to own any Video 8s, let alone be able to own this particular one, or one like it, it is now in my collection, thanks to Matt from TechMoan. The actual cassette, not just of a release that I really wanted to get my hands on, but actually from the video in which I and many others learned a lot about Video 8. So my thanks definitely go out to Matt. We had some question initially about the packaging, though. If you take this out, it's pretty glossy. The back is not slick, but not like regular papery. It's a little more glossy too, not super glossy. It is more bent than creased when it comes to the spine, with these gray areas here. Okay, little gray area to the side here. Okay. Nothing on the inside. My initial guess when looking at this, because of the type of paper, because there's not a crease, because you still see the gray edges here, and there's nothing written on the inside, suggested to me that this is probably a reproduction of the cover. But then I took the time to talk to Chris Clark about it. And the waters became almost muddier at that point, because in Chris's copy, it is pretty dark. Maybe not this dark, that also suggests reproduction, but it is pretty dark, he said. It is pretty glossy. It isn't really creased, barely. It's more just that they took it and folded it and stuck it in there. He doesn't quite know where the little triangle by the 8 came from, because his doesn't have that. His also has printing on the inside with advertisements about the other stuff and cast crew information, like what we saw with the VHS releases out of '88. So those would suggest, minus the stuff about inside, probably more legit rather than a reproduction. But why not have something on the inside when his did? And where's that little triangle coming from? On the other hand, if this were a reproduction, why would it have had the original UK stickers on it? Because you can see where the stickers have been removed. You saw the stickers in the TechMoan video, and you can see the spot where they've been removed and the residue is still there. Why would somebody do a reproduction and then add those stickers onto it? Wouldn't they print it to it? Where would they get the stickers from? Because they tear apart when you try to pull them off of a release. Why would somebody go through that kind of trouble if it's a reproduction? So I really don't know at this point. My gut feeling now is that what we're looking at here is probably not a reproduction. It's probably a later printing in the production process of this release, where they got to a point where they didn't print on the inside. Maybe the quality of the print was the same or close, but maybe a little bit darker than otherwise, and just pushed it out the door. That would also seem to make sense, because I don't think, and Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly, he didn't have stickers on his over this. And if they were adding the stickers, as we see in some of those other releases, I believe that it was the ones that were later out of the gate that got the stickers added to them, not the ones earliest out of the gate that got the stickers added to the packaging over the existing ratings. So I'm thinking legit, but a little bit later in the print run, even if it wasn't much of a print run to begin with. But either way, whether it's just a really nice, weird reproduction that somehow got the stickers put on it, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, or it was later in the print run, which makes it a variant based on seeing what Chris has, probably from earlier in the print run. It's nice to finally after years, be able to show this in the book, to show it on the show. This is one of those things I was constantly being asked about. You know, and every time I brought up Video 8, everybody said, check with Matt from TechMoan, check with TechMoan, check with TechMoan. Well, I did. He checked back in recently, and it is here. So, whether reproduced or not, I don't think the cover is reproduced. It just It's a little odd to me initially. That was my gut reaction. We've already seen the contents of the video because he played it on the Tecmone video. So we've seen that, and there's nothing to suggest anything other than legitimate for the cassette itself or anything like that. It is here. It is here. Do I expect to ever get Empire A New Hope? Hell no. Then again, I never expected to get this. Never expected to get the ones from Japan either. Video 8 for Star Wars is something from elsewhere and elusive, to quote Obi-Wan and basically butcher it. So yeah, Return of the Jedi on Video 8. Yes, in English-speaking markets, there was a place where it existed. In this case, in the UK. We also know there were English language ones out of Japan. Kind of wish we had them over here, but you know, them's the breaks when we're talking about different media formats in different regions. Sometimes something just doesn't catch on over here. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thanks again to Matt. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.